Hi friends, it's Nirmal from Nandanam Exotics, and today we'll be looking at a gorgeous orchid called a slipper orchid or Paphiopedilum spicerianum. It's an endemic species from Assam. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Our video today is centered on this beautiful orchid species from parts of India and southern China called a Paphiopedilum spicerianum. It is also commonly called as a lady's slipper orchid. It's mainly seen in the wild areas of Assam, Myanmar and Sikkim. So we'll take a look at how to care for this beautiful species. This pouch-like structure that you can see in the front of a flower in this genus is what gives it the common name lady slipper orchid, because it resembles the front portion of a slipper. In my collection, I have two mature clumps of spicerianum growing and they are currently in full bloom. You can see I have around 5 buds emerging from two clumps, and this is how I have planted them. The interesting story or reason behind the name Paphiopedilum comes from the Greek or Latin origin, where Paphio means the goddess Aphrodite and pedilum means the shoe. So literally you can translate Paphiopedilum into Aphrodite's shoe. Now friends, we'll take a closer look at the flower and see how special this particular morphology is. So the pouch-like structure in the front collects rainwater and prepares a small trap for the bees that come in. The pink plate-like structure is called a stamenoid that protects the concealed stigma. There are two openings where I am just pointing right now. There are two pollen sacs or a stamen placed in the entrance of those opening, and this is the basic structure of this flower. So this is how it works. The bee or the pollinating insect is attracted towards the flower and somehow ends up drowning in the water pool that the pouch has prepared. In its attempt to escape from the flower, it goes through a narrow passage-like or tunnel-like structure that the pouch leads to, where the stigma and the stamen, the male and female part of the plant, is exposed to. Thus the bee dusts itself or rubs itself onto these structures. Thus the flower achieves pollination through this complex morphological structure. Friends, do consider subscribing to the channel. Also press the bell notification for more updates. Also consider visiting my other social media platforms, which I have given a link in the description below. Friends, now we'll take a look at how we can care for this beautiful orchid species. The care for Paphiopedilums vary depending upon which part of the world they are found. So today's care guide will only apply to tropical warm growing species. First on our list of requirements is light. They like dappled shade or a bright spot in your garden where they can be exposed to direct morning sun, but the rest of the day it should be very bright but not direct sun. Next on our list is humidity. Humidity is a major factor for most epiphytic orchids, but Paphiopedilums do not show much problem if the humidity is a little less. You can get away with at least 40 to 50% relative humidity. So when we take a look at how a Paphiopedilum grows, you can see that they produce offsets which we call as fans, and each new fan flowers once a year. Once they flower, they produce new fans which flower for the next year. And to propagate your plant, you have to detach one of these new growth from the base and you can pot them up separately. Here I have taken a small offshoot from my mother plant and we are going to repot it into a small pot. So let's take a look at the root. Paphiopedilum roots are very brittle and delicate. The newly growing roots have hair-like structures for absorbing nutrients and moisture. So always be very careful while you deal with a Paphiopedilum root because they can easily break. Next on our list is a medium or soil, and generally people use sphagnum moss or dry sphagnum for potting up orchids. But since sphagnum is not easily available in India, I'll be going with another medium. I'm going to take 1 part cocoa peat, 1 part stones, gravel and coarse sand. It has a little bit of charcoal powder also in it. This is fine sand. A portion of cow dung powder, or you can also go with organic compost, and finally we need the same amount of perlite. So now let's combine the 5 components we have taken and get a very evenly mixed soil medium. Take your time for this process because you should really mix it well. So now I have finished mixing up the medium very well. Now let's take a small plastic pot because the roots of this plant can easily attach to terracotta, so I would always prefer plastic. Now I'm taking some coconut fiber and lining the bottom drainage holes of the pot with the coconut fiber. Press it down really well. Once you finish all the above steps, you can start filling the pot up to half of its height with the prepared soil medium. Also, make sure to compact it down with your fingers or any other equipment so that it's tightly packed in there. Now it's time for us to take the sapling or the division and place it centered in the pot. Fill the remaining part of the pot with soil so that the division is secured properly in the medium. Once you have done all this, you can moist or water the medium. I use a solution of hydrogen peroxide in this stage to water the medium so that any fungal or bacterial infection that could outbreak from this new medium we use can be prevented. Also make sure that the pot is draining really well once you finished watering. Just like most other orchid species and genus, a Paphiopedilum also requires staking for the blooms to stand properly and show off their flower in such a beautiful way. They are very long lasting flowers, so you better stake your blooms. The next major factor in its culture is watering. Always try to keep your Paphiopedilum medium, damp and moist. They don't appreciate being dry. You can adjust your watering schedule depending upon whether you grow them in a greenhouse, indoor or outdoor. Also, take extra care while watering these plants by not letting the crown or the growing point get wet. That could lead to fungal infections. The last thing I'll be discussing about is fertilizing your orchid. They are very slow growing plants, so you don't have to feed them every month or other week. Once every 3 months or a total of 4 times a year is a good way to fertilize your Paphiopedilums. You can either do foliar feeding or you can directly apply it to the root zone. So friends, all the above care tips I shared right now are only applicable for hot growing or tropical species of Paphiopedilums. Others might require different care. So friends, I hope that today's video was informative and you enjoyed it. I would be doing videos like this soon. I hope you guys enjoy the channel content. Also check out my other videos. Until next time, it's Nirmal signing off.